Well, hello, guys. My name is Dalton Stevens, and we are here at the 460 Street Racers Heroes and Legends podcast here in Oil Springs, Kentucky. Today, we're sitting down with Mr. Bannie Blair and Mr. Kelly Conley. We're going to be talking about how the 460 Street Racers started up and how everything got to be about down here on US 460. So, guys, we're going to dive right into things here. We won't take too much time. By the way, you can't see me. I'm just over here off to the side. Nobody wants to see me anyways. We'll focus on these two boys here for now. Kelly, first thing I want to ask you here, buddy, is if you don't mind, just kind of tell me, how did the 460 Street Racers begin? How did you guys just all of a sudden end up in the middle of 460 doing what you was doing? Can you kind of tell me how everything started off and maybe kind of roundabout when it started?
I'm going to say, when you're a little boy, you always dream of making this car or a truck or anything. I don't care if it's a tricycle. You think about that thing and how you can make it go, or you see somebody else that's driving, you think, I'm going to do that one of these days. Well, it just happened. I happened to live in front of a perfect straight stretch that there was good straight ground and you could go play on it. And then you got neighbors and friends that's doing the same things. They see you doing it. And so then Bannie's already building him a car. And that's the way it went. Probably when I was, let's say, probably started right around the time I was still in high school, acquired a car and started building on it. Yes, Bannie was in school about the same time I was.
Yeah.
And he had an old Grand Prix.
That's my daily driver.
Yeah. That's Bannie's daily driver.
Yeah.
But then we just started building them. That was I was supposed to graduate in 83. So it would have started pretty close to 83, 84.
And just flew.
And it just went from there. I guess you build one and you want to try it out, so you call one of your buddies. It ain't like that you want to outrun your buddy, but you're wanting to outrun somebody else. So then you get them over there and we race and say, okay. And then we try to go, we go try to find somebody that wasn't acquainted with us, and we want to see if we can outrun them, right?
Yeah, and then this word of mouth, it just took off a lot from word of mouth.
Oh, yeah. We'd go down to the plaza.
Yeah.
We'd sit around down there, and about 10 o'clock was the time that we would hit it, and we'd get all of our ideas of who was going to run who, and we'd tell them we'd meet them out there at 10. We'd meet at 10 and race until it was over.
1 or 2 o'clock at least.
Yes, at least. And then before you knowed it, there was several showing up, and a lot of them we wouldn't know, especially the at that time Floyd County would drift in, and then my Golfing County boys would drift in. It took it probably 2 years. I'd say 2 years, and then it was full-blown just every weekend, Friday, Saturday, and sometimes Sunday night drag racing. And on weekends like when Apple Day, when all the people would come in for their other families and car shows and stuff like that, there was a vast amount of cars that you didn't ever get to pick on. And those weekends would sometimes, I've seen 200 cars at the radiator shop.
Oh, I'd say easy.
They would just be parked everywhere until the law come, and then they kindly started drifting out. Most of the watchers would get scared and drift away, but the diehard racers, we just sat there and waited them out.
Yeah.
And really and truly, at the time, we was trying to keep it pretty clean. The drinking and stuff like that. Somebody come up and they was drinking, we We didn't let them race.
We had some nice and potly to leave.
Yeah, we just want to have fun. Just go on and do that somewhere else. There wasn't really a whole lot of room to mix those two things if you was going to be.
Cars and alcohol don't mix.
So we just done it our way.
So Kelly, you kind of kick things off with the 460 Street Racers. So Bannie, when did you get involved?
Probably about the same time Kelly did there. Like I said, that was Grand Prix, which I still own, but it was my daily driver. And I just, started racing. There was a guy coming from Ohio. The Owens boys brought him in. And he said, I give anybody here 5 car lengths. And I wouldn't bet much at that time. And little Mike Jackson said,
he was a little Asian.
Yeah.
He was Asian.
Yeah, he said, I put up $20, says you can't outrun his car 5 and spot him 5. Well, he did.
Yeah.
Kelly said, why don't you hold that thing wide open? He said, just enough to win. Just enough to win. But it's probably about the same area,
Yeah.
And then it just grew from there, they was.
Well, yeah, then everybody that had, it didn't matter if you had a stock S10, 2-wheel drive, 6-cylinder, 4-cylinder.
You raced.
As long as you just raced them. Yeah. You found somebody that had one just like yours or close to it, ask them. They'd race. And they didn't care. It didn't matter. It was all just for fun. It wasn't like that. And most of the time, I would always take the off side, the left side, because I didn't care to quit. If there's a car coming, I didn't care to just quit.
Yeah.
I'd just stop.
That was one rule, too. No race on it toward cars coming.
Yeah. Just get out of the road. So it worked out pretty good for the longest time.
For a long time, too,
We would end up, sometimes it'd rain. We'd all get bummed out, and then we'd think, it's just fire for one as is the other. Let's go ahead and run. Whoever can get the best traction can win.
Yeah. So how did you know when to go home? What was the cue for you to go back to that? Like, because, a lot of times they just shut the lights off on you if you stay somewhere too long. But you boys were running a crew. So, what made you decide to go to the house?
Well, when everybody raced and there wasn't nobody racing no more.
Nobody going to race no more, so you quit.
You want to run me? No. Let's shoot.
Yeah.
No. Let's run so-and-so. Won't you run Bannie?
Yeah.
He outrun me.
Yeah.
So
it just came down to a process of elimination after everybody got tired of,
You just rode until you quit riding.
What's about the longest you guys think you ever ran one?
4 o'clock.
So you started, what time did you start until
10 o'clock.
So 10 till 4. So you guys ran for 6 straight hours.
Yes.
And how many people you think was there around that time?
Oh, I don't know. That was one of them weekends when there was at least 100 cars there. And when you get that many cars together, you need a clipboard and a piece of paper to keep up with everybody. But we didn't have them. Everybody just kindly, and we had to watch too, because you'd get too many people out there on the road and them not knowing what was going on. Here we was seasoned at it. We had our little system worked out where we would drive down to past the muffler shop, and there was a big long straightaway down there. You could see whether there was anything coming from Paintsville at least a half a mile. So then we got into our head, if we drive down there and we look down that straightaway, there ain't nothing coming. All we got to do is worry about the oncoming traffic. So we'd run back up there, do us a burnout, get our car ready, and go stage up, go. And if a car come, we'd quit. If one come behind us, we didn't really worry about it. If you knew what you was doing on the muffler shop, you could look on the gutter. And if a car was coming, that gutter would light up, and you knew you had some pretty good time. You could go ahead and get your race off before it ever got there. But then when they was coming from Caldwell Fork, you knew just as soon as you seen the headlights, you had to quit.
Yeah. Yep.
So now a second ago, you had mentioned something about, people would come out with just a stock S10 and race. So, what was about the wildest modification or, maybe one of the fastest vehicles you can remember? Gina wrote down a note over here. By the way, guys, we've got Gina Rose with the Kent Rose Foundation that's sitting over here just off camera with me. You won't see her either. We like to be a little behind the scenes back here. But she had wrote down a note over here asking me, she said, tell us about the first time you guys knew about nitrous.
Well, I bought a '67 Camaro off of Keith Simmons. Or is it Simpson? Simmons. And him and Green, what was his name?
Tim Green.
Tim Green, that owned the junkyard out there on 201. They had come out there in that Camaro, and I was up at the shop, and I seen them messing around in the trunk. And I walked down there, and I seen that bottle in there, and I thought, what is that, Keith? He said, nitrous oxide. I went, wow, what's it do? He said, you watch. As soon as these boys get here, I'll show you. And the boys showed up. They didn't have a clue. They talked their race over, and them boys got out there. They lined up, and they took off pretty well even. And when he hit that nitrous, he was gone. I mean, race over. It was his history. He come back down there, and I thought,
I want me some of that.
I need some of that.
Yeah.
So I bought his car. That's it.
So just
When I
right
was
there, you just got. So after you got you a little bit of that, so what was the first time you hopped in a car and you kicked it on? What'd that feel like?
Well, it's just like starting all over. It's just like you're sitting there in your car and you kick it. And if you've got a car that for us, if you had a car that wasn't real fast and you put the nitrous on it, it made a bigger difference than if you had one that was already had a lot of horsepower and you would shoot nitrous to it. It took a whole lot more to make that one feel, didn't it?
Yeah. It's just like opening up another 4-bar.
Yeah. Yeah,
You got latch back, and then you hit that button.
And when you're out there trying it out by yourself, you don't really realize how much difference it makes until you've got one sitting beside you that you're racing. And when you hit that button, you just gradually drift away from him. And you're like, whew, that's pretty
You
cool.
can start with a 100 shot, and then you can keep going right on up.
Yeah.
So then a 100 shot's another 100 horsepower, So
Yeah.
you take a 200 horsepower car, you got a 300 horsepower car.
Yes. And, I started out with a older model, just a muscle car that had it. And then I fooled around there and traded for I bought an IROC, a wrecked IROC. That was when they'd first come out in '85. They was just a 305 tune port, but they was fast.
Yeah, that's fast enough.
And I got that nitrous kit for it. Well, then I couldn't get nobody to race me. They wouldn't nobody race because they heard about that nitrous. And they're like, no, I ain't racing you. You got that nitrous. So I just took me a fake bottle and set it back there where that little hole in that IROC. And I took my spare tar out and put my live bottle back in that compartment and just put me a remote bottle valve opener on it where I could just flip a switch and hit open the nitrous up. And
Set the bottle out.
I'd say, well, here, take it out. You can take it out. There's a wrench laying back there. I'd let them take that line loose, and they'd set it out on the ground. That wasn't working anyway. So they'd race. But you learned not to let them know. Then you couldn't just hit it and run off and leave them because he'd never, he still got it. So you just bump it a little, just enough to stay in front of them, because if you could beat them by a fender, they'd still race you again and again and again. But if you just run off and leave them, you've lost that fish. You might as well go fishing again.
So the fun of it for you boys was just to get together and just see who ultimately had the fastest car. All the time.
That's it. Yeah. That was all it was.
So,
and it started with just us and our friends, and then we quit picking on each other. We helped each other to build our cars. All of us wanted to be faster than the next county.
Yeah.
So
and the boys there was 2 guys from Williamson, West Virginia, that we got acquainted with, Keith and Craig Curry. They come over there, and here we was running these Camaros and Grand Prix and our cars, and the Grand National come out. A wolf in sheep clothes is all it was. It was a family car. And it was fast. It was a 6-cylinder, turbocharged.
Yeah.
We was like, really? What's these? And those boys showed up and started racing and outrunning us with a little 6-cylinder. Here we had V8s. But they had nitrous on theirs too.
Yeah.
They had already been introduced to the nitrous. And, you know, for us, we thought we was the only ones that had it. But there was a Summit magazine that sold them to everybody. Didn't they, man?
About that time, though, it had blossomed up too. Like that's when Marion had that old big block Camaro.
Yes. Yeah, everybody was really getting into
Yeah, it was a hot
big
thing.
muscles.
It was
Street Machine. Brad Martin, he had a 55.
55 Chevrolet. Yeah.
White 55. It was tubbed. And we really tried to keep our vehicles where they was streetable, where we could drive them to wherever we went to race instead of hauling them around on a trailer. Because we was trying to keep it to where that the state police didn't really give us no trouble because they seen that we was trying to run it pretty clean, and
I guess something
something went wrong
yeah,
because
they
we
didn't
got
bother
away
us there.
with it for a long time, didn't we? Until the end of it there. I skipped out in 87. But it was such a drag racing spot that even once that I was gone, it just kept right on rolling.
Yeah, it wasn't as big, but it wasn't.
Yeah, it wasn't as big, and it wasn't organized.
Yeah,
we kept it pretty clean and pretty organized.
Yeah.
Well, so I know we talked a minute ago about Kelly and some of your vehicles that had nitrous. Bannie, did you have any good?
Not a nitrous car. I never.
No.
No.
Well, why didn't you ever get one?
Couldn't afford it. So I was a poor boy. I was a poor boy.
So for the people that don't know, is it pretty expensive to put nitrous on a car now?
It can be expensive if you run it all night long.
You eat them bottles every night, and then the thing it was not everybody on the corner was filling them.
Right.
You had to go find a place to get it filled.
We went to Clay City one time. Kent Rose used a bottle going.
Yeah.
We got down there. He didn't have no nitrous. I said, Kent.
He used it on the way down to Clay City?
Yeah. Yeah, we'd race all the way to Clay City.
Yes.
We didn't just go to Clay City to race. We raced there,
And the bad thing was you didn't really want to go to Clay City and let somebody see how fast your car was because then they wouldn't race you.
Yeah.
But we wanted to know
Well, yeah.
how fast they was because here we
At
was
that time,
running.
my old Pontiac run 1420. That's slow. It'd just be in the way right now,
Yeah.
But after on the blacktop equals things out, It don't
Yeah.
take as much power, to...
If you've
to
got
go.
something that's just consistent,
Yeah.
it goes. And really and truly, less power would sometimes win more
Yeah.
because they could get more traction. But
I run Grady and Bobby Daniels. He had that little maroon step side truck. And
Oh, yeah.
and Grady was running the button. But my
Yeah.
old car wasn't no slouch. But on Friday night I run them, they outrun me because I just had a single wheel rear end, I put a positive, stayed up all night, put a positive traction rear end in it, went back Saturday night. And said, let's run again. Grady said, don't run him. He's done something. Don't run him. But I outrun him that night.
Yeah. And you got to take into consideration, too, Bannie's car weighed 4,000 pounds.
Yeah. But I could outrun a lot of them Mustangs at the time. When they was hot, the GTs and stuff like that,
Who was that? Fat Scarlin was that fella I'm trying to think of a
yeah,
while ago.
yeah.
Him and Beecher Frazier.
Yeah.
The other guy I was thinking about, I can't think of what his name. Now I draw a blank.
I don't know.
I can't think. Anyway, but at that time, Bannie was running a heavy car.
Oh, yeah.
And who was the old man running the Cadillac
Hard
motor?
Times.
He put Hard Times Kastner.
Hard
He would have a Malibu, and that's all he would run was a Oldsmobile transmission and a big Cadillac motor, nothing else.
Yeah.
And then he fooled around and found nitrous and put it on one of them Cadillac motors and outrun them Mustangs like nothing. He just wanted something with a lot of torque.
Yeah, man, they had it. Them old Cadillac motors did.
He'd find an old 68, 69 Cadillac and take the motor out of it and put it in that little Malibu. Them Malibus didn't weigh 3,000 pounds.
That's what Marion ended up with was a Malibu.
Yeah.
Jeff Blanton had that we run down there. At
That's the
Beecher's
one
place
you
that
got
night.
took away down there in Louisa.
Yeah.
We was racing one night, and me and Bannie went down there. I had a 68 Camaro, and Bannie was driving another guy's car. He didn't want to drive it, but he wanted to run my car. Bannie said, well, I'll drive it.
If the law comes, you catch a car, not a driver.
Yeah. And we went down there and got set up, and just as soon as we took off, here come them blue lights right toward us. Well, Bannie kept right on going because he was wanting to get out of the car.
Yeah.
Well, whenever he kept going, he went right by that cop. That cop turned around and went right back after Bannie, and when he did, I just made a U-turn and went back toward Ashland. I said, heck, I got to go this way. They're going to go that way. So Bannie made it back down there to the crowd and got out of the car and just stood there.
Into the crowd.
And they took the car, but they couldn't figure out who was driving it.
Nobody wouldn't rat on you, though.
No.
They
They didn't say a word. Yeah. Nobody said nothing. They loaded the car up and took it away, and I went back around that little old road, and I never even let up. Went on back to Paintsville and sat down there and waited on everybody to come back. And I think we ended up going out to the radiator shop and raced some more that night, but it was too hot out there around Beecher's. That's what it was. It was Beecher's fuel stop right there.
Yeah.
And I don't remember why that we went that way.
I don't know neither. There's a gang there. I don't remember that. You know, there's a lot of cars there, but I don't know why we went down there.
Most time, if we would get out of our element, that's when we would get in trouble.
Yeah.
Because they left us alone over there. And then there was the boys that was on 460 McGoffin County side. When we was racing over there, they just kind of started their own little crowd over on Isaac's straightaway over there. And they started trying their cars out over there so they could come over to Johnson County and race against us. Spanky Arnett and Biff Bailey.
Ronald Reed runs some.
Ronald Reed runs some, and what's his name? Danny Blank.
Danny Blank, yeah.
He had a little Monza. It was all. They had some pretty fast cars, but that's the way we did it at that time. You know, of course, it would never work now.
No way it'd work now. It'd be there.
Whole different ball game now. Technology.
It's took over.
Too many radios. Well, they had radios then too, but at that time, cell phones had just come out. I mean, not everybody, but a lot of people had pagers. I had a pager.
Yeah.
And we got them cell phones, and we thought, wow, we can drag race now. We'll know what's coming. We'll know where the cars are. We know where the law's at.
Now, that's a good segue into one of my questions for you. And just real quick, for anybody listening, I just want to preface this. We don't condone any of this behavior. We don't want anybody to get out nowadays and try to...
It wouldn't work.
You know what I mean? We don't want you to get out and then put yourself in dangerous situations. You know, we want you to have fun, but at the same time, we want you to, do it safely and do it in a way that's not breaking any laws. But obviously, back in the day, you guys had a slightly different mindset. And, can you tell me about one of your best stories running in with the law? Is there a good one kind of pinging around on you?
Well, that was probably about the best one.
The best one was down there at
That
Beecher's.
was the best one.
Was the best
whenever they chased Bannie and he got away. But there was several more nights that the law would show up, and
They'd just make an appearance, and
they wouldn't
come up and try to take nobody to jail out there on 460,
No.
But now he'd probably took somebody to jail down there. He's mad that night down there.
Yeah. Yeah, they would always pull up over there, and there was a no passing sign on the other side, the opposite side of the road of what we was sitting, and he would always pull up right down there in that same location and sit right there. And I think maybe that they had to. Evidently, somebody would call complain that we was out there playing in the road, and they'd have to show up.
I think that night down there at Beecher's, he just was driving by.
Yeah.
And seen that crowd of people.
And put two and two together.
Yeah. So, what's going on here? Little did he know.
One night we was trying some cars out. It wasn't on the weekend. It was through the middle of the week. And Chuck Dawson had come out there, and he'd done some work on his car and was wanting to try it out. And I was up in the shop working on mine, and I couldn't get out there and run with him, but he was going to try it out. So we walked down to the road, and he went down there and done a little burnout, and come back up there. And about the time I was still sitting on a guardrail, and Kent Rose come down the road, pulled in there beside him. He said, "What are you doing, Conley?" I said, "I was going to try this car." And I said, "Won't you run with him so you can see what he's got and see if he's done any better or not?" He said, "Well, yeah, just a minute. I'll fix his toggle switch. I can't run without my nitrous." And he turned around there in the road and got right behind Dawson, and I walked over and told him, I said, "Here, Kent's going to run with you so you can tell what you've done or whether you've done any good or not." He said, "Okay." Well, I walked back over and sit down on the guardrail. Here comes this cop from Sayersville, and both of Kent and Chuck Dawson was pointed toward Sayersville. So the cop just pulls over, backs up to Kent Rose's car in a 81 Z28 yellow. And Chuck Dawson was in his was like a Z28, wasn't it?
I can't remember for sure.
White.
I don't know. Maybe so.
Like a 84 Crossfire.
Yeah.
The Crossfire didn't run as good as the Tune Port.
No.
But he had done some work to it. And I think at that time, he had took the Crossfire off of it and put a carburetor on it. So he was trying to tune all that in. But anyway, back to the good part was, the law backs up to Kent's car, gets out, walks up there. I'm over here sitting on the guardrail waiting for everything to kind of bull down. And he asked Kent, said, "Buddy, you getting ready to race?" He said, "No, sir." He said, "What are you doing?" He said, "Fixing this toggle switch." That guy said, "Fixing a toggle switch, but you're not getting ready to race?" He said, "No, I just pulled over here. My toggle switch messed up." He said, "Where are you from, son?" He said, "Saskatchewan, Montana." He said, "I'll tell you what. I'm going to go back here to this cruiser. You get your information and get your driver's license and come over here and talk to me." He said, "And you better be from Saskatchewan, Montana." And just luckily, Kent had just come back from Saskatchewan, Montana, and his driver's license said Saskatchewan, Montana on him. He goes back there and gets in the cruiser with that cop. By this time, Chuck Dawson had eased out and went on up the road, and I was sitting there on a guardrail, and I thought, oh, my goodness. I eased over there and slid in Kent's car and sat down, and I thought, oh, I want to run from him so bad. I reached up there and was going to start it, and I thought, I need to do this real fast. Start it, get it in gear, tear out of here, gone. Kent had took the keys.
Probably a good thing.
So then there I was sitting in the car, and I thought, now he knows I wasn't in this car. I was over on that guardrail. So I eased back out of the car and got in front of it where he couldn't see me, and I eased back up the road. Well, Kent come back over there, and he just gave Kent a warning, checked everything on Kent, and he checked out good. He come up there, and I told him, I said, "Why'd you take the keys out of that car?" He said, "Son, just habit, I guess, moved away, you got to take your keys out." I said, "I got in that thing and was going to run from you, and you took the keys." He said, "Oh, you're kidding, Conley." He said, "I'd have got to chase my own car." So it happened. I lived to tell about it anyway.
Now, I know you and Kent Rose got a couple of good stories together. So Wade Smith, who I'm sure one of these days will make it onto this podcast, but Wade has told us a story about you and Kent Rose numerous times. Gina, what would be the best way to kind of lead into this? There you go.
Oh.
Yeah. Can you tell us?
Yeah.
So you may not have heard Gina there, but Kelly,
Yeah.
tell us how that kind of, how'd you come into that?
Kent Rose and Steve Buckley popped in over to Radiator Shop one night, and they was actually just passing through. I don't really know where they had been or what they was trading on, but he just stopped in there, and he said, "How come ain't nobody racing?" And I said, "I don't know. Everybody must be over Sayersville." And he said, "Well, let's run over there." And I said, "Well, all right, let me close the door." I was working on my car. We closed the door, and I jumped in the truck with him and Steve Buckley, and we headed over toward Sayersville. We get over there, and there ain't but about 3 or 4 cars sitting there. We didn't know really where everybody had went. For some reason, there wasn't nobody playing over on Johnson County. They wasn't that. They was just few cars playing over there. So we hit us up a race with a Camaro, and got out, went down the road. That guy went around the curve, and Kent had already, he dropped me off, and he got ready. He didn't need to go a mile down the road. We was just comfortable. And he pulled back up there. When that guy come back around the curve, he was really moving. And he said, "Hey, buddy," he said, "there's a cop coming. He's ready." I seen him turn around down there at the lights. And I said, "Well, here, if he's just at the lights, we can go ahead and get this race off. I'll flag you. Get ready. I'll flag you." So I motioned him up there and flagged him off. And when Kent went by me, he was driving a little 69, 72, little red step-side Chevrolet truck. And when he went by, I just grabbed the door handle. You know, when a car first takes off, it's not that fast. I mean, it wasn't then. You couldn't get traction enough to be that fast. But it's like getting on a barrel racing horse. You just grab the horn and hang on. It'd throw you up on there. So I just grabbed that door handle, jumped up on that little step side, held onto the bed, and we raced. We outrun that boy in that Camaro, and me looking right at the headlights of that car, and Kent barreling Jack. He never let up because I jumped on his truck. And when we got to the end up there, we just kept right on going because the cop was coming. I crawled over in the bed of the truck and rode all the way back.
That's the truck. He used the nitrous going to Clay City. All the nitrous going to Clay City.
Yeah. So we done that. We got one night, Kent and Steve Buckley was with him again. They come down to the house and blowed that truck up. And I said, "Well, I'll run yous home." And he said, "All right." So we pushed it over there out of the way and got in my car, and we took off. And I said, "Let's go through Sayersville. I don't need no more trouble in Johnson County." I had got 2 tickets that day, one in Johnson County and one in Martin County for speeding. And so we went through McGoffin County. We get up there, go down 114, get down there about in that spur lock curve, and this car had been right on my bumper the whole way. And I thought, what's wrong back there? I said, about that time, Steve Buckley said, "He's going to go around you." I said, "Well, if he ain't went around me in all them straightaways, he's not going around me here." So I just kicked it and ran off. And at that time, it was Western Sizzler set up there at that intersection. It wasn't the Mac Art Center or nothing like that. We got up there. We had to stop for that red light. Steve said, "He's mad. He's getting out of the car." I said, "Well, I ain't no fighter. I'll just run off." So I just run the red light and took off. We got down there. He said, "Well, he's coming right behind you." I said, "Well, what's wrong with him?" He said, "Well, he's mad because you wouldn't let him pass you back there." I said, "Well, all right." So I get down there to just past Archer Park where you could turn and go up that back street toward the high school.
Yeah.
The light was red, so I turned up that back street. But little did I know, when I made my curve up there at the high school, there was more law there than there was on Jenny Wiley Day. So we didn't make it no further. And they got us all out of the car. And the reason that it was all such a mess was there was a cop up there by the name of Harpo. And Harpo was mad because we wouldn't let him go around. I don't know.
He called reinforcement.
I guess maybe they was a little disgruntled. And there was some guy that knew Kent and knew Steve Buckley. He come walking back there. They had separated me and Kent and Steve and was asking us all different questions. And he come back over there and he said, "Well, listen," he said, "they're wanting to take you to jail, but I think we've got it straightened out to where you just get out of here and get back to Johnson County and stay down there."
Don't come back.
I said, "Well, that's fine with me." I said, "But somebody's going to have to take Kent and Steve on to the service station.
Yeah.
And he said, I'll get them took care of. You just get on out of here. And so I got to go, and I guess Kent and Steve got a ride with that cop back up to the service station where Buckley's car was, and away it went. And it was off until another night.
Awesome. Kelly, I tell you, let me ask you this real quick. You guys have talked about a lot of different stories and stuff that have kind of happened down on 460. So can you, is there any memorable cars or drivers that stand out to you, over the years of you guys racing down there? You, Bannie, either one? I mean, I'm talking like, something whenever you saw it roll up for the first time, you was like, now, what we got going on here? Anything like that?
It always about every time that them Owens boys would come from Columbus, it was always fascinating because they was the tar burningest fools you ever witnessed. And a lot of times they had some fast cars, but they would tear them up, burning the tars on them before we'd ever get to race them. And they had Dodges that was fast, big horsepower, big motors, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
That little Chinese guy he was fast.
Yeah, he's fast. Well, I don't know that he did anybody. I don't know that anybody ever outran him. Do you?
No. And Easy would come up there. He would always drive it. He's driving it today. What year is this now? Easy still drives that same old coupe.
Yeah.
He would sit up there in that old thing, no windows, a pair of coveralls, and he would watch us race all the time. And never one time did he get out there and race with us. And one night, everybody had raced. Easy was the last one on the lot. And I walked up there, and he was leaned up against that car. And I said, Easy, how come you won't never race nobody? He said, I ain't seen no competition. And I went, well, daggone it. I said, at the time, a street car that run 11 seconds, that was pretty daggone fast.
Fast car. Yeah,
and my little Regal at that time was 11-second car. And
wasn't fast enough for him, though, was it?
No. I said, well, won't you run me Easy? There ain't nobody here. And he said, I'll tell you what, I'm getting ready to go home. And if you can keep up with me, then we can call it a race. I said, well, that's fair enough for me. Well, by jigs, we head down there, and he didn't even burn a tar. He didn't do nothing. He just pulled out there and stopped at the mailbox. Well, I got my car ready and pulled up there beside him, and when I flicked my lights, he knew I had my boost up, and he just went, gone. It was over with. I didn't even run after I took off and seen I wasn't gaining no ground on him. But that car probably didn't weigh 1,500 pounds, you reckon?
Probably.
Big block motor in it. But Easy's still driving that old coupe today. I don't know that it's definitely not got the same motor in it. But that was an impressive car. Nobody got to see it. Nobody got to see the race. Nobody got to see him smoke me. Brad Martin had a nice one.
55 Chevy.
55 Chevy.
Marion's car was fast.
Yeah, it was. But he trailered it. He was coming down there to race boys that was street legal, and I mean his was probably street legal, but
Marion's street machines.
Street machines.
Yeah, probably.
His was,
it might have been.
But Marion's was a drag car.
Yeah, it was a full-blown drag car, really.
Yeah. Yeah, big old tar.
Yeah. We run Danny Blank. He was the only one that ever outrun us on the street.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Danny Blank was.
That little, was it in that Monza?
Yeah. Yeah. He had a 411 gear in it, and he said, "I want to change the gear in. Will you wait on me?" I said, "Yeah, we'll wait on you." So he pulls in the rack over at Joy's, tears it apart, and can't get it put back together. I helped him put it back together. And he outrun us for $500.
Yeah,
Marion said, "Why did you put it back together?" Well, we wanted to race, didn't we?
Yeah. That was just it. You would help you, buddy, if
we
We was coming back from Clay City one night, and Bannie, yours blow up? Or?
Yeah. Well, it was making a big noise. It never did blow, you know.
So we sat beside the road.
Waiting on a trailer.
Wee hours in the morning, waiting on a trailer to come and get a car.
Yeah.
But we usually didn't leave each other. We'd sit around.
Help each other out.
If it's daylight. Well, we didn't have nothing else to do.
No.
Go home, go to sleep.
Yeah, that's about it.
But now, most of the time, the heavy racing was on some kind of a big, either Hillbilly Days or Jenny Wiley or some kind of when they was having a bunch of cars that would come in. Then we'd go to them car shows and strike us up a few races. That was the time.
Well, we'll head back to the 460 races here in just a second. Buddy, do me a favor, scoot that mic just a little bit closer to you. I'm having a little bit. No, you're good. You're good. Yeah. I just want to make sure we can hear you good there. So, I think a lot of people with racing today, Gene and I were just talking a second ago about kind of how we do at Combs. There's no prep, right?
Yeah.
Was there ever any prep stuff going on down at 460, or did you guys just hit it and rolled with it, huh?
Oh, you just found a good dry spot and
hope it stuck.
Yeah, and hope it sticks. And then there, after you get that many cars are running in the same spot, the road will get black.
Yeah.
And it does get better. If they put rubber down out there, it starts getting better. We tried everywhere in the world, but we'd always come right back.
Yeah.
We
was talking back on that nitrous deal, Sam Hicks and Joe.
Yes.
Joe had a Vet, and Sam had that Mustang. Mm-hmm. Well, Sam Jr. had always outrun Joe in that Vet, in the Mustang. His brothers. And they told Sam that they put a blue racer cam in Joe's Vet, but they hadn't. They put nitrous on it.
Yeah.
And old man Sam helped Joe do that, Yeah. So they went out there and run him, and Joe outrun him. And then Sam Jr. was all a piece of hunting for that blue racer cam box. I thought that was a pretty good.
Yeah, that was. I had forgot about them boys. Are they both passed now?
Yeah.
Hey.
Kent worked down there,
That's right. Kent did work with them for a little while.
Yeah, that was always a fun time there,
Yes. Then the Danny Blanton and them boys, they would come over and bring them. They had a little Monza.
Pro mods.
Yeah, that's what they was. They got serious on us. Yeah. We was like, and Delbert Bailey, he would, at that time, he didn't live in McGoffin County. He lived in Michigan. And he would be coming in, him and Marge, and he had at that time, he had a 87 black IROC, and in 87, they had a 350. 84, 85, and 86, they was 305. Well, he come in with that 350, and it was faster. And he would come, drive all the way from Michigan, stop in there, race with us, and then go on home. And then over the weekend, they'd hold some races over there, and then him and Marge would always go back home on Sunday, back to Michigan. He would stop on his way going back home and drag race with us. That's a street car,
Yeah.
If you're going to
that's
race it and then drive it on
to Michigan.
Yeah. Back to Michigan.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I know a minute ago we were talking about Kent. So do me a favor, kind of tell me, because I do want to transition into kind of what we got going on today over at Combs. So tell me, how did Kent first get involved with 460 Street Racing? When did he first come onto the scene?
He worked.
He worked there at J&S with them boys, and they probably just transitioned right on in there,
Yeah, but I met Kent before J&S, before he worked there. I had made friends with a guy named Tim Clark up in Prestonsburg. He worked with the Comptons, married the Compton girl. Well, Kent was friends with Tim Clark. Well, them boys both worked for Ronald Adams. They worked for Ronald Adams. So, of course, you'd stop by the scrapyard looking for parts, these boys always knew where the parts was.
Yeah.
We was looking for a specialty part. You get a hold of Kent and them boys, and they knew where it was. Or they'd already took it off and had it sitting waiting on you.
Yeah.
You could buy it and go. But that was
Kent was just always around. I don't know what year he come around, but he's like everybody else. He's just always around, you know.
Yeah. And that's where I guess I met Kent, was up in Floyd County. And then the farther along it went, you know, your friendship just sticks, especially if you get somebody that's a little gearhead like you are, and you're after the same thing. You just want to win. You'll lose. You'll lose. You race enough. If they say they ain't been beat, then they ain't raced very much.
Yeah.
Well, tell us, like I said a minute ago, we were talking about, I wanted to make the transition from 460 to Combs today. So how did you guys first make it on to Combs Airport? How did that first kind of come about?
Kent had set up a race up there.
Yeah.
And so he invited us to Combs. And he was actually Kent was trying to clean it up, get the kids off the street, and get them in a place, a good spot that they could go and have fun and not be in danger. And because what we was doing wasn't the best thing in the world, but it worked. None of us get killed, nobody got hurt.
I didn't have a car at that time, and when that first arm drop, I had probably 4 or 5 young teenage boys hanging around my garage, And I said, I buy a car, let's put that thing together. In a week, we built that car in a week. And them boys, they'd go to school one and come right back, they'd be ready to work on that old car.
But that was good, though.
Yeah, I bought 2 cars. I bought a dirt track car, and at Malibu, I bought it off of Ted Blevins. And we built that car in a week. We took the motor out of that dirt track car and put it in that car. But up there, like I say, the road's equalizer, and the first 60
first man
foot,
there.
is the game. And that little dirt track motor is fast now.
Yeah.
But them boys, there they was, young kids, and they'd lay right out there in that garage as long as I would with them, and we built that car in like 4 days.
Yeah.
4 days.
Then that gives them the fever.
Oh, yeah. My boy had it. He didn't have a chance,
No, he was already fevered up.
I asked him if he wanted to come talk on this, and he said, I just remember being at the radiator shop one time, and he said, all I can remember is there's a bunch of people there,
Yes. There was usually a pretty good crowd. And then some nights, you'd have just our regulars, and we'd find somebody to pick on.
Yeah.
And they'd come into town, and they'd just got them a new Mustang or a new Camaro or something, and we'd float over around them and hit them up for a race. Say, hey, you want to run that thing? Little did they know we was kindly educated at it. We'd been doing it a long time, and then they'd come in there on our turf, and it was pretty cool.
So you were talking a minute ago, Bannie, about a bunch of teenager stuff hanging around your car. So I think it's interesting, obviously. Whenever a kid gets to 16, 17 years old, a lot of what they want to do is go fast.
Yeah.
They want to just get out there and truck. So now, based on what I've been told, now you guys both have kids. They're out that race still to this day.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about your kids and how they got involved in racing.
Well, mine's not she's not a big racer. She's just, I quit racing when she come along. I quit a whole lot of things when she come along. Before that, I lived my life just like there wasn't going to be a tomorrow. And when she come along, I thought, well, shucks, I got to raise this little girl. Kid. So I quit doing a lot of things that I done prior to that. But she didn't really she just heard stories. Your dad done this, your dad done that, riding motorcycles. And now she has come up with the fever, but not because that I was doing it. Right. Bannie's was all because he was doing it, and the little feller was right there with him every breath.
Yeah. he had no choice but to be a racer.
He was just
And
born right in it.
He's racing, today his car is down right at the time, but, he's been waiting 6 months on machine shop work, so.
Well, shoot, he may not remember being there, but he sucked a bottle there.
He probably did.
And it wasn't no nitrous bottle
No.
either. He was
No.
there.
Yeah.
He probably don't remember it, but Jared was there. But now he's just doing it on his own.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, like I say, like Kelly said a while ago, if you had an 11-second car then, you had a fast car.
Yes.
And now, Jared's car went like 980s,
Yeah, and drive it.
and drive it, so,
Technology.
yeah. But Jared learned how to do it all himself,
Yeah.
He
And
won't give up on stuff.
which Kelly Shea, she's wanting to get into it. She likes to race. She'll get out here and do it on her own. And she's wanting to do this arm drop stuff because I guess she feels more comfortable because she ain't worried
Won't go
about
to
another
jail.
car.
Ain't gonna go to jail.
Yeah, probably ain't gonna go to jail.
Yeah.
But she has kindly got the fever, and me not even doing it in front of her. But now on Bannie's side, like I said, it was a different.
Oh,
He
yeah.
had to.
I quit drag race, started dirt tracking, and so he's still been around racing, the whole time.
Yeah,
But he's back into the drag racing. So
yeah.
So, Bannie, we gonna see him at the arm drops this year?
if he can get his car put
He can
back
get his-
together, he's waiting on a machine shop. I mean, he's a dime. He's chomping at the bit. But
We still got a couple months yet. I
yeah,
think
yeah,
we might be able
called
to get him out there.
Called it the other day. He had a bad experience with another machine shop, and he had to go down there and take the law and get all his stuff back, and took it to another machine shop and told him that story and said, I don't want to wait, 7 months, and he said, I'll get you right in and out. So
It
I told him
had-
the other day, and he said, there's a race I want to make, and it's the arm drop. And he said, I got to have my stuff back,
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
we'll see. I hope he does. He's wanting to bad. He's raced there before on his own, he had a Trans Am, but he raced there.
So, you think Kelly Shea's gonna be an arm drop this year, Kelly?
I hope she is.
What would she drive if she was gonna be in it? What would she be driving?
Well, she wants to drive. I'm in 2010 when the new Camaro at that time come out. It looked like the '69, but that's when that new body style for the Camaro come out, and I was thinking all along I'm going to have me one of them. So we went and bought one, and then I go and spend $25,000 more on just go fast parts for it. And once I got it all put together, I decided, it'd be kind of cool to turn 16 and get a brand new old car, because for us, we want a '69. I was born in '65.
Yeah.
We wanted them old muscle cars. So I thought it'd be pretty cool to just save that new Camaro until she turned 16 and give her a brand new old car. And I did. It had less than 500 mile on it when she got it at 16, and it was that car 11 years old.
Yeah.
And to this day, it's still just got like 1,100 mile on it.
Jared has got one of those cars that he said if he didn't get his other car done, he's going to bring it, and just play with it, So it's a 10-mile Camaro. That's what you said yours is. ain't it?
Yeah,
10?
2010.
Yeah, it's a 10
Standard
already.
shift or automatic?
Standard 6-speed car.
Yeah.
He said you just take it up there and play with it, So.
Well, when I bought the car, they was a pushing for me to buy a standard shift one. They said, "Oh, them standard shift ones got more horsepower." And I went, "Well, I ain't really worried about the horsepower. I'm gonna make more horsepower."
Yeah.
So I just took it all apart, and we made it faster anyway. That voided warranty though. We ain't had to use none of the warranty.
Yeah.
I ain't drove it.
Your factory warranty is about to expire.
Yeah, it did. It expired real quick.
But it's all fun and games, I guess.
Yeah, it is.
Well, tell me this. I'm gonna circle back to 460 for a second and back to Combs. what was it like going from racing, and I know this was years later, but what was the difference between racing on something like 460 and then coming to a surface like Combs? What was
Adrenaline.
that like? So why is that?
Just the adrenaline. I guess for on the street, you got so many variables that you're playing with, and you got to make them all work right. And if you go to Combs, it's really laid
You don't
back.
have to worry about oncoming traffic,
There ain't nothing coming at you. There ain't no law chasing you.
Yeah.
You ain't hiding from nobody. When we was street racing on 460, you had people like Chad Rice. His mom was the clerk. Chad couldn't get caught drag racing. His mommy was an upstanding citizen. She needed votes. Chad couldn't get caught drag racing. Well, we put nitrous on his little Sunbird, and I guess she got to wondering why Chad was slipping out in the evenings at 10 o'clock. He'd hang around the house there all the time. Then here we had snuck and put nitrous on that little Sunbird, and it was out running Mustang, stock Mustangs. We'd catch somebody come into town and a little 4-cylinder car goes out and runs a Mustang. That's
GT
pretty good.
Mustang, yeah.
It was good.
Box body.
Well, she ended up catching us, and it turned sour for a little while, but it all got better after that. And today, me and Vicky's, we're okay. Me and Chad, we're okay. It was fun, though. Chad loved racing. He's got 4 or 5 boys now coming up, and I don't know, does any one of them
I don't know.
drag
I don't
race?
know.
He
But
had
up
a whole
there-
team.
Up there at the arm drop, we picked on each people up there too.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you run him. If you got to run him, I'll run him.
Yeah.
We do that kind of thing too. When I built that mono car.
We got to looking for a safe place to race one time, and they had just built the new airport up Honey Branch. The blacktop and everything was there, but there was no buildings, no nothing. I guess Jim Booth and them had mined all that out, and they made a real nice flat spot for an airport. And we got in with that guard that was guarding that place. And one night there, we had everything set up, and everybody from Martin County, Floyd County, McGoffin County, Johnson County, there was a slew of them come in there. And as we was going through to that guard, I don't even know who that guard was, but everybody'd flip him a few dollars. He had to have made thousands of dollars that night. He got fired from it, but we'd get out there and line up 6 and 8 cars right beside each other. The track was so wide, you could run everybody at one time. But the track was real, real rough, and not rough as in bumpy. The surface was real rough. Eat your tires up. So that airport must have a different grade.
Blacktop.
Blacktop. I don't think Combs would have, because Combs was just put down there in time when just black. Usually they was happy to have blacktop. They didn't have to do a grass field landing, soft field landing they call it, I think. That's where I got my pilot's license, was at Combs. Me and Wade.
Well, guys, I want to kind of, I don't want to kind of cut you guys off here, but man, I think, just kind of in closing here, just a couple things. So Kelly and Bannie, obviously you guys been around this racing thing for a whole long time and everything, and you guys seem like you were around whenever we first started kind of going over to Combs and racing. Yeah. So how did you guys feel whenever you found out that the arm drops was coming back?
Oh, it was a great thing.
It's a great thing. I mean, these young kids got someplace to go and something to do. I mean, and I've talked to older people that said that's all they ever wanted to do was race on race on that airport, you know.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's like we always just wanted to get out there and run our car down
yeah,
it.
Steve Hazlett said, all my life I wanted to drag race on that, you know, airport.
Yeah.
So hopefully it'll continue on, you know. I mean, that's why, you know, I feel like this podcast, if it does anything to promote that, I'm in, you know. If I could say 2 words that give some kid encouragement to try to have a car there, I'm in, you know.
Yeah. And it's good. It gets the community needs it.
Oh, yeah.
The not only that, just the money that it brings. If people would really just come out, show up, and see, you know, it's fun.
My youngest boy, he's younger, but he was like 4, 8 or 5, and we got pictures of him pushing that, help push that car up to the drag strip up there at Combs, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, it's good family environment. You know?
Yeah, it is. And it gets them off the street from where we was, but it's all in good, I think.
I just wish it was more than one time a year. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, give it to where
Well,
if you
that's
could work
true.
it to, you know, could have it 2 or 3 times a year or something other, you know.
You
if
need
you
some
could.
time. Kids will, they've got to get out and get them a job.
Yeah.
So they got the money to spend on the car, but they got to have time to fix it. A
Well,
little time in between the races, but
They was people brought cars up there that
a
wasn't
year's too far.
big money cars, you know what I'm saying? They was cars there that wasn't big dollar cars, you know.
When there's just one race a year, they tear the car up before the next year rolls around.
Yeah.
I wished it had been quicker while I hadn't tore it up.
Yeah.
But it is a good thing.
Now, Bannie, you made a good point there. I've heard a lot of people say that Combs is such a that you can have a car that's really well tuned, but Combs is like an ultimate equalizer. Is what I've heard a lot of people say.
Equalizer.
So can you
Top's equalizer.
can you guys talk about that a little bit about, you know, for people that may be discouraged to come in because they think their car's not good enough? What would you say to them?
Well, that does, like Bannie said, it equals you out.
It'll go you out now.
You can take 2 cars that's the same and get them out there, and if you can't make it stick to that road, you can't win.
Nope.
Spinning ain't winning. You got to go. You got to get that thing to hook.
Yeah. But equalizers, the road's equalizer. And one thing, you know, like Combs is about like 460 was, you know, I mean, you do a little water burnout, but you don't got no prep or nothing, you know. I mean, I don't think so, do you? I don't remember using no prep. It's just water burnout only. But, you know, it's pretty equal, I think, you know. I mean, you got to get from point A to point B. If you can't go from A to B, you're out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Game over.
Game over.
Now, we got Combs coming up here. You know, the arm drops is coming up here in a few months. Would you boys like to see some of the old 460 street racers come out to it?
Oh, Lord, yeah.
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 Yeah,
That's
right.
kind of why that, just like doing this right here, we hope maybe that our old buddies will hear us and want to talk, and maybe they'll get out and race with us again.
Is there anybody that would show up that would get you on the track?
Oh, I'd get on the track for anything. I don't care if it's a duck out there. I'd race a duck.
And nobody you'd want to call out to get out there on the track against you now? Ain't a single person out there, not a soul.
You got a good car. I ain't got no good car. My old Pontiac's, it's just in the way. You've got that Nova. You can make a good call out. Call somebody out.
You said oh, Easy still had that coupe.
Yeah, Easy's got the Easy smoked me again. But I'd run Easy. If he'd come and race, I'd run Easy.
I'd have to run the Ghost Rider class in that old Pontiac and probably still get outrun by a Malibu or something.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's another thing. They need, I guess, your classes up there. If they had something that was truly just a old muscle car, street car, that didn't have the technology involved, they need something that's that. Because you start mixing technology cars with old muscle cars, and
Just in a way.
yeah, it's a hard thing. And I mean, it's fun whether you've got a 14-second car or whether you've got a 4-second car.
It's all fun.
As long as they're paired up real good, you can race all night. But if you get one that he just runs off and leaves everybody. Then game's over. You already know who's going to win. Everybody just pack their toys up and go home because he just ran off with the game.
Awesome. Well, guys, like I said, I don't want to cut you all short, but I think we're probably going to wrap it up here. I mean, just kind of to close it up here, and anything you guys got to say to anybody thinking about coming out to the race, or any words of encouragement for those thinking about?
Just try to show up.
Yeah, come and have a good time.
Yeah.
If you can't bring a car, bring a kid. It'll have something other to race.
Yeah, that's it. That's for sure.
My little grandson, he was 5 probably or 6. His whole face was blood red from riding the big wheel,
Awesome. Well, guys, if that's all you got, I think we'll try to wrap it up here. Once again, guys, that was Bannie Blair and Kelly Conley coming on today to talk to us about a few things. Really appreciate y'all's time. Thank y'all so much for coming out and hanging out with us for an hour or so. Guys, once again, the 460 Street Racers Heroes and Legends podcast. Glad to be here today in Oil Springs. Very thankful for Mr. Kelly Conley for letting us use his space down here to sit and film this podcast. And, we're hoping to have a couple more guests on here the next few times around. So, Bannie, Kelly, thanks again for coming out. Really do appreciate you boys. Once again, guys, be sure to keep up with the Arm Drop Dragz page and everything for more updates about the race that's coming up soon. Really look forward to seeing everybody, and we'll catch you back on the next one, okay?
Yeah, great.
Good deal.